Welcome everybody. This is How to English, Teach and Learn with Gav, Em and John.
Hi.
It's a podcast. Hi John. It's a podcast about teaching and learning English as a foreign language.
All opinions stated are personal and references will be given when necessary. Okay, so thank you John for meeting us. We're so
Pleasure.
Pleased to have you on the show. So
Thank you for having me.
You are John from John's English page on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and you are a very influential person. We've been watching you for a while and we're just amazed at your content.
Come on. Yeah, very influential. It's very kind of you to say so. I don't know because I don't really get to leave the house. I just sit here making stuff. So I haven't had a chance to step back and see what's happening really.
I see. We've got so many questions to ask you about your inspiration and, you know, just what comes to you before you start making your videos and all these really cool posts for IG and everything. So I would like to start my first question with what was your inspiration to start your IG channel?
Well, to be honest, it kind of just happened. I mean, it was we obviously went through lockdown in 2020, and before the summer of 2020, really, I had an Instagram account, but I never used it. It was kind of just a personal thing, which I just put the occasional picture of me on the beach and things like that. Well, I don't even. It was just sort of random. I didn't even know what it was for. I didn't understand why people had Instagram. So, I mean, we were at those sort of levels, And then, as when lockdown, everything about March sort of time, I transferred all my teaching online, and so that was quite a learning curve for me, going from face-to-face teaching to digital learning. And over the next couple of months, I suppose I kind of got into this kind of whole thing of teaching online, and it seemed to me it seemed a relevant thing to do to maybe start an Instagram account to teach English as well. I didn't really know where it was going to go, but I thought, well, I'll just start and see how it goes. So that was really but a year ago, really just over a year ago, I didn't even know what an Instagram story was. I mean, I was asking people, what are stories? What are they? So, I mean, it's been a big journey for me, really.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it was a really steep learning curve. Like you probably have a similar background to me, which is not in IT.
No, it's not.
Exactly. And then when you see all these like amazing things that people are sharing and doing, all the posts that are really interactive and everything, and you think, wow, that's so cool. And so you taught yourself basically. Yeah,
effectively everything that I've done. I mean, I went through the whole thing of learning how to use, to make, presentable slides, and how to add my voice to them, and all of these things. It was a case of learning on the job, really. Mm-hmm. So there was nobody there to sort of help me. So we just sort of tried to get as much churned out as possible in the short term.
That's very cool. And were you surprised how did it pick up very quickly, or did you find that like there weren't many followers for a while or many likes?
At the beginning, you probably know as well as I do. At the beginning, you kind of have your little group of people who comment on each other's posts, so you kind of like making this sort of like unspoken agreement that you'll kind of like check out each other's feeds and you leave a few comments, and that sort of leads on to maybe some of the followers from the other pages following you and vice versa. But I think the key thing is to obviously to have content that people want to see, people want to watch, and that's easy to digest.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so is that so simplicity? That's we'll come to your post in a minute.
She was simple.
the product is
simple for them. Yeah, simple for the followers. Yeah.
Em, have you got a question?
Yeah, I was just thinking about this kind of. You said it happened organically in a way, but then I suppose when you start to get successful and people are watching and listening, and you have a sort of USP maybe that you start to think, right, this is what I'm doing, this is my thing. So were you aware of that happening, like the whole pronunciation rock thing? Like how did that happen?
Well, I'm going to have to say, to begin with, I was one of my biggest inspirations, because I started off with just just posts really. And then I moved on to last summer. I started putting my voice on posts as well, which already for me was like a massive step forward. I was thinking, it's quite nerve-wracking really, putting my voice out on social media. Little did I know, a year later I'll be dressing up as a woman dancing around on the beach. But anyway, so things spiraled out of control maybe. But one of my biggest inspirations, I think, was Andy Dow from Parlour English, because I know he put a video out about just over a year ago, one of his first videos, and he said, this is me. I'm the face of Parlour English. And I looked at him, I thought, he's got some guts, putting his face on there as well, and speaking on. So that kind of pushed me to try and actually make some videos and to speak on the videos as well. But it takes a little while for you to find your character, your personality, especially on my page. Well, I don't know who I am half the time because I've got so many different characters, So, but even yourself, it's hard to find yourself because you don't quite know whether you're supposed to actually be yourself or you're supposed to some larged up version of yourself, or is it so the John that stands on Pronunciation Rock isn't really the same John that does a cup of tea with John, but but it's still me, but it's hard to explain that really.
Yeah, I think we can say the same really with our podcast. It's sort of you lose yourself for a little while and then you kind of think, well, what is this person and who is this that I want to present to the world? But Andy, is that Gavin? Is that Andy?
Yeah, that is Andy.
That is
we
Andy.
worked with Andy.
Oh, you've worked with him?
Yeah, in Seville.
Yeah, he's great.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
It's a small world, isn't it? Tiny little world.
I thought you must have not known each other, but I mean, I've seen that you've commented on each other's stuff. I saw a few months ago, so I knew that there was some sort of link there, but I didn't know you actually knew him.
Well, I didn't realise that was Andy when I saw this Parlour Lounge, and I was like, oh, that's an interesting name. And then actually, this guy's style is kind of familiar. And then eventually, as you said, then his face appeared. Like, oh, it's Andy. Wow. Okay. And I think also, there was definitely in your posts, there was a key moment, I think, and it kind of blew up. And I knew Andy was focused on it and a lot of others that I was sort of following. And I think it was the video you made of the robbery in your house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think it was so funny to watch, and it's just your actions as well. They're all, very simplistic and sort of, contained within a short thing.
That's the real job. Simplistic actions.
So why do you think a video trends? Why does one thing really work and others just don't seem to? Any ideas?
In general, or the things that I've been making?
Well, like with yours, I mean, because that one was clearly very catchy. I mean, everybody wanted to comment and say how much they enjoyed that one.
I didn't really think about that. I mean, because I didn't really understand how the whole thing worked. I just kind of thought I just want to make stuff that is going to be A, useful, and B, watchable. So, what can I do? I didn't know because I don't have a background in acting. I don't have a background in presenting. Maybe it's part of my character, but I've never done anything like that. So I was just experimenting with things, I think. And I mean, I'll admit I've got quite good imagination. So, I mean, if I've got something I have to present, then I can probably come up with something. The limits are technically what we actually got to do it, because otherwise we're spending thousands on, props and stuff like that. But, so, yeah, it wasn't really a case of following any trends. I mean, as times progressed, I've noticed that the posts which tend to get the most views tend to be reels, full screen reels on films. People tend to really like them, even if it's sometimes it's a bit soul destroying, because I'll sit and write something and I'll spend a whole morning trying to carve something out. And I think it's really clever and intelligent, and I'll post it and it'll get like half the number of views of one where I just cut a bit of paper and put a stupid face and put "hut." So it's difficult to understand really.
Yeah, I think definitely my favorites are the really simple ones where it's like you just pointing at something or you just waiting for something, for some reason they're really appealing.
Yeah, I think they're easy to watch, aren't they? And also you don't have the language. I shouldn't be saying that if it's an English page. You don't have the language problem because people can just watch it, so.
Yeah, well, it's that maybe passive learning as well, like because you see some people and they're quite heavy, the stuff that they're teaching, whereas others maybe want to just sit there and just be taught 1 or 2 words every few seconds.
Yeah, I think it suits the format when it's one very concentrated thing that you're getting at, and it's sort of simple and easy to understand. I think that is a winner. So what about long term? Are you thinking just like week to week, or are you thinking in the future do you want a budget? Do you want to go to shops, buy the props, and have like a whole studio?
Well, I mean, it's pretty much taken over all of my spare time, so and all of my spare cash, because I mean, it does cost money. It costs a lot of money really to keep sponsoring posts, because you can't grow. Well, personally, I've found it very difficult to grow without having some sponsored posts. And I don't put adverts out because I just don't really have anything to sell at the moment. So I don't know what to advertise. I mean, I've got some ideas for things and products that I want to come out with, when the time is right. But in the short term, it's kind of a 2-phase project. The first project is to try to build a large following of people who are happy to interact with the page, and so that seems to be going okay so far. And then once you've got the right number of people, then you can decide what you want to do next. But I think the key thing is to always put yourself in the position of the followers. However much you love doing it, you've got to remember that you're doing it for people who want something. They want to be they want to learn English, and B, they want to be entertained in a way that's it's light, it's not too heavy, I think, because otherwise they wouldn't be on social media. They'd be at university or something, studying there maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Yeah,
that's a really good point, because looking at, I mean, you're approaching 100,000, is it?
Something like that. Well, 80,000.
Okay.
A little way to go, yeah.
A little way to go, but I mean, you can look at other people's social networks at their pages, and they've got 20,000, 60,000, whatever, and you look at their posts and nobody's interacting with them, and you think, oh, okay, this is maybe they're getting these paid followers, and it makes such a difference where you've got actual interactions with your own followers, and that's obviously you're doing a good job, because I can see on all of your posts you're getting a lot of response from that.
Well, if I had to give any, I find it absolutely absurd that I'm going to give advice to people on how to grow. It's just ridiculous. I mean,
Well, you've got the T-shirt, John. What's next?
Yeah, I know. I'm pretending that I don't get it. I mean, it's like a step back all of a sudden, because sitting down and talking to you, it's like you actually have a chance to think about what's happening, I suppose, because you get so into the daily kind of production of stuff. I can't pretend anymore, can I? I should have worn something else. I should have put something like humble or something like that. But I think that the main thing is, as I say, to make sure that you've got something in that post that people can, where possible, can relate to, or can react to rather. So a question, a game, a challenge, something personal for them, because basically everybody wants the chance to say something, or to be heard, or to be funny, or whatever it is that you're trying to do. So trying to get them involved, I think, is fundamental.
That's quite an achievement with thousands of people. I mean, that's a real achievement.
Yeah,
I think it gets easier with thousands of people, to be honest with you.
Okay. Can we come back to that in a second? I was just going to say, I think what you've just said kind of sums up teaching in general. Like what you've done, you've applied the sort of rules of teaching to making video content, and I think that's the key. Like, just keep it relevant, keep it about what the students want, or what the watchers, followers are going to want, and accessible. So I think as long as you keep that in mind, definitely it's going to be.
Yeah, well, keeping it about what the students can do, making it about what they can do. Exactly. As you well know, it's one of the most important things with teaching. You're focusing on what they can do, not on what they can't do. So I do, when people ask me, I will actually help them with their grammar where possible. I can't do that with 80,000 people. It's a bit much, but I don't go through correcting everybody's stuff, because I'd like to encourage people to participate. it's not all about being perfect with your English, you know, with your or any language when you're learning it. It's about having a real reason to use it. And you know, if you can create that on a page, then you know you're giving people a chance to actually use it. And you know, people might ask me is this correct? And I'll tell them if it is. But
yeah, I agree.
I prefer to focus on the positives.
Sorry, I just want to go back. How is it easier with 100,000 people?
It's easier because you automatically get more interaction. You know, so things kick off much quicker. If you've got, you know, 1,000 followers, which I had for quite a long time, you know, then maybe you'll get a few comments, but you don't get many. So there's not much to react to. They don't react to each other so much. So I think the more that people you have, I suppose if you think of it as a concert, you know, if you've got a big stadium full of people, you're going to get a bigger feedback than if you're doing a local gig. Although a local gig could also be very good, you know, don't get me wrong. Maybe if you've got fewer followers and they're also very interactive, which is the key thing really, rather than the huge number. I mean, you're going to get loads of literally dormant followers who maybe don't participate. So, you know, it's not a realistic number really. I think it's how many actually participate.
Okay, I'm going to change the topic now. Tell us about Alan.
Well, Alan came into my life, I suppose, last Christmas because he was. I went to this sort of animal sanctuary, and there was this. They only had one kitten there, and saw him. I thought, well, we'll take him home and make him give him a home. So he's kind of made himself at home very quickly, and he's taken over now. He's the boss.
Was his name originally Alan, or did you?
It was Rocky.
Oh.
Yeah, they called him Rocky for some reason, and I thought, well, that's just a ridiculous name, so I changed it immediately to Alan.
Looks like an Alan.
Yeah, exactly. He behaves more like an Alan. So I had to explain that to the vet. Obviously, I'm in Italy as well, so it's even more complicated trying to explain to the vet that I changed it from Rocky to Alan. And he was just looking at me like, why, kind of thing. Because Rocky, it's easy for the Italians, Rocky, because it finishes with a vowel sound, you know, but then Alan is like...
Oh, that's the best story ever.
That's wonderful. But talking about pronunciation, does that affect some of your activities or the videos that you make when you do the pronunciation videos?
What do you mean?
Do you think about your Italian students, or are you thinking about, you know, what kind of typical mistakes that international students, or what's in your mind then? Mm-hmm.
Well, when I'm with pronunciation, my main issue, it's actually a very good point that you brought up, because my background, my original teaching, I started off teaching in Britain to cultural classes with people from different nationalities, literally 12 people in a class, 12 nationalities. So originally I used to teach to all sorts of different people from different languages, sort of mother tongues. But then I moved to Italy, and I've been here for a long time now, nearly 20 years. So most of my teaching has been to Italians. So I started off, really, most of my followers were Italian, because that's where I am. And I suppose, you know, it was kind of aimed towards people that I knew, people that, you know, knew friends of friends. And then it sort of branched out a little bit. But most of them were Italian. And I put a couple of Italian posts on as well, you know, like differences between Italian and English going back a few months. So it was kind of aimed at Italians, but I decided that I didn't want to just do that. I love Italians and I love teaching Italians, but I thought, you know, there's a whole world of people out there. So, but this is a very good question, because obviously my background is really mostly Italian, teaching Italians. So a lot of the problems that I encounter, all of them really, are, you know, typical Italian pronunciation problems, but not just pronunciation, also grammar. Mm-hmm. So to try to get around that with Pronunciation Rock, that's why I asked people to send me their, you know, pronunciation problems, so that, again, making it interactive, but also letting the people choose. Let the people choose the you know, the words that they want me to pronounce. So if I choose them, then obviously it's going to come from a base of words which I know my students have problems with. So yeah, it's probably definitely influenced by Italians, but I hope that it encompasses more than that.
Okay, I definitely think that the Italian mistakes that you're picking up on pronunciation are going to be quite international against
Mhm.
across quite a few countries there. So
That's
it's
good to
good
know.
example. Yeah, definitely. Em, have you got a question? Would you like me
Yeah,
to?
I was just going to also ask about the live quiz that you do on the
Mhm.
Sunday. How is it doing that compared to doing the kind of pre-record or the rehearsed video content? Do you enjoy the live stuff?
Well, I remember again. I can say it's all fresh in my memory. The first time I did anything, because I say it's all been over a year, space of a year. So my first live, I knew I had to do it. I knew I had to start doing lives, but I thought, well, who am I going to be now? I just really don't know it, because I started off making films where I didn't even really talk. It was just miming. I'd be walking around doing something, and I'd just put a voiceover, like pick up or down or something like that, and that would be it. So it was kind of cheating in a way. I'd be on there, but I didn't have to actually say anything. Then I moved on to actually speaking on the videos, and the next step, logical step, was to do lives. And I just thought, who am I going to be when I do a live? I don't really know. So, to cut a long story short, I love them. I feed off the energy of doing the lives with the people. I don't know, something just takes over me and I just go for it. It doesn't, at the beginning, there were a few nerves, maybe. I think it's normal. Now I don't feel nervous about it. I'm just anxious to make sure it's excellent live for everybody. I do a lot of preparation, to make sure the slides are up to scratch, and so it's fun, great fun, and I love the spontaneity.
That's really great. I think that makes all the difference. Obviously, if you enjoy it, then it's half the work done, isn't it? Contagious for other people. I think that's all my questions really, Gav. Have you got any others?
I wanted to know, you mentioned about, standing and pointing and picking up and things like that. Are there any funny incidents that happen during that? Or do people think you're doing some sort of performance piece?
You mean when I've been filming?
Yeah.
Usually, to be honest with you, I've noticed that people really don't give a shit what you're doing, because I've gone out and I've done the most stupid things, and people just walk past as if nothing's happened. So you're worried about it maybe to start with, and then you realise, even in packed tourist places, and I'm just like pointing at stuff, and people just walk past you. They don't even look back. So it's quite an interesting lesson of life. People just don't really care what you're doing. So get out there and do it. That's one thing. But there is a funny story. When I went to a shop to buy a pink dress, a big one, so that I could wear it and look like Auntie Bessie, who's one of my characters. And so I went to this sort of cheap Chinese shop that sold all these like women's clothes, and I went in. And I was cheap, but by this stage, I really didn't care about anything anymore. I'd been posting pictures of myself and films of myself on social media to thousands of people for months, and nothing seemed strange to me anymore. So I went in and I got this big pink dress, and I went and tried it on in the changing room. And I came out to look in the mirror, and the Chinese woman came running up to me and said, "I said, look, in a dress. I'm gonna buy it." So
Okay.
and it was me sort of arguing with this Chinese woman while I was in a big pink dress. So I suppose
But you did buy it though, yeah?
I did. I felt I had to. I didn't wear it out though.
One of those moments where you catch yourself and think, this is what's happening now. Okay.
Yeah, looking back, I think she was probably in the right.
Oh, wonderful experience. Okay, I think my final question is about which way to cut the toast. Did Alan finally find out what that was the best angle, or?
Yeah, I think overall most people tend to prefer triangular, single cut, diagonally.
Okay, from edge to edge.
Yeah, from edge to from corner to corner.
The corner, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really count up all the. Or maybe I should have. Maybe I was a bit superficial there.
Really want to know.
So you just put it there and let it run.
Well, yeah. I mean, I did comment, but I didn't go through counting them all up. I mean, it's not going to change how I have my toast. How do you have yours, Gavin? Just out of interest,
I don't cut it. I just
really
go straight
whole
for
thing.
it. Yeah, the whole thing.
Yeah, I think I do the 2 rectangles down the middle, I'm afraid.
Yeah, well, I don't apologise. I mean, that's what makes the world the rich and varied place it is.
Yeah, there's something a bit sort of dangerous about the corners when you cut it corner to corner. It's just so angular.
Dangerous. It
Yeah,
depends how long you leave the toast in the toaster, I suppose.
Okay, that's absolutely brilliant. So thank you very much for your time, John. I feel that we've got some really good hints and tips for how we can improve our social networks and continue to get more and more influence over the world until world domination, obviously, same as you. And
you guessed there first.
Good luck with your drive to get to 100K. I'm sure you're going to have all of those followers soon. So good luck with everything. Thank you, John.
Thank you, both of you.
It was a real pleasure. And so everybody check out John's English page. Do you prefer them to go to Instagram or TikTok or YouTube? Where do you want to send them?
Instagram is the main one. That's where I started. TikTok was a kind of a side venture, which just suddenly I had a viral video of me skipping through a park and with Michael Jackson music, and then it overtook everything that I was doing. So that it was a side hustle that kind of spiraled out. That's another story, but so yeah, Instagram. Yeah, I've got. I'm trying to get a foothold in YouTube as well, but it's as you well know, it's difficult to produce stuff in different formats for maybe one day I'll start doing that as well. But Instagram's the one.
Fantastic. All right. Thanks very much for your time, John.
Thank you.
Take care. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
What a nice chat that was, Gav, and what a nice chap John is.
John is a very, very nice chap, and that was an absolutely delightful and insightful conversation, Em.
It was, Gav. So, I think it's shout-out time, isn't it?
It is. Cue the music.
Starting with Karen, English teacher. Thank you very much.
Walking languages.
Ingles_com_Leah.
Deal with Kinga.
Danny Kiar with 2 R's at the end.
_my new English.
The roving reporter.
English Now Russia.
English SBZ.
Learn.with.a.
Passionate Teachers ELT. Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you.
We really appreciate your support and your comments. So Gav, this week's special guest to finish the show is Tony Kaizen. So Tony's approach is amazing. He's got all these really helpful videos that have small chunks of language, phrases that you can listen to, and it's really helpful to pick up these very natural ways of speaking. Tony's style is to teach you the English you won't learn in school, which I think is fantastic.
And is very, very cool.
It is very cool. You can find Tony on Instagram with the handle English with Kaizen, where you can find loads of really interesting and helpful stuff. Thank you very much, Tony. Really appreciate your contribution.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Tony Kaizen. I'm an English teacher from the United States of America. Now, first, I want to give a big shout out to Gav and Em for featuring me on the show today. Now, we as English teachers and educators, we're constantly looking for new and creative ways to teach our language to our students because, let's be honest, the technical parts of a language like grammar, for example, are not always the most interesting things to study every day, right? And I've taught myself 2 foreign languages, and listening to music was a big part of my success because music gives us a chance to practice pronunciation that sounds natural. It gives us a chance to learn about the culture from a particular country, and it's much easier and much more fun to remember things when we put them into songs. So if you're interested in learning more about the English language or American culture, then you can check me out on Instagram at English with Kaizen. I'm constantly posting new videos there. Or you can check out some longer form content on YouTube at youtube.com/lifeinenglish. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's episode, and I want to thank Gav and Em one more time for having me featured on the show. You guys take care. If you having trouble with pronunciation, then this is your reminder that you just gotta be patient. Keep on trying, give it time. All you gotta do is put it in your mind, give it effort. Now you're getting better every single time. Put the work in, imitate the greats, and you'll become a greater person. There's no need to be scared and there's no need to be nervous. I know you feeling tired and I know your head hurting, but I promise you, homie, it's gonna be worth it. Yeah, 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 yeah. Life in English. If you a real one, then you know it ain't by where you at, it's who you with. You don't gotta cross the globe to learn a bunch of languages. All you really gotta do is find a partner that's legit, then get them on the phone, dog. Don't send no fucking messages, that's wasting time. Keep your mind on your language and your language on your mind. Gotta speak, read, listen, and scribble on the lines. Don't overcomplicate it, man. This message here is simple. It's Tony Zen with the Kai in the middle. Yeah, 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 yeah. Hey, it's life in English. Yeah, boom.